Jake Paul. I like. Yeah. Hey, I hope y'all keep that same energy when I knock this old man the out.
Listen, I started Jake off and I'm gonna finish him.
With the heat rising about the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight, pros and fans alike are lining up to share their predictions about the highly anticipated bout set to take place in Arlington, Texas on November 15th. The British sports promoter, Eddie Hearn, is not even going to bother tuning into the bout, even though he's a huge fan of Mike Tyson. Hearn just isn't satisfied with the 31-year age gap between the two fighters.
I don't want to watch one of my all-time favorite fighters, one of my heroes, I guess, in a boxing ring at 55 years of age, physically a shell of what he once was.
Tyson's age has been a huge controversy with this fight. Even though Tyson is one of the biggest fighters out there, his prime was around 20 years ago.
So you think that 20 years on, it's okay for him to go back into a ring? Even against Jake Paul, it doesn't matter. Like, Jake Paul, as limited as he is, he can punch. What is he, 26? I just, But
Eddie continued to say, "It is no secret that Tyson is a threat to Paul even at this age with his historically powerful punches and lightning-fast speed. But Jake is at his prime fighting age, which gives him an edge over the veteran fighter in stamina. Hearn is all for putting on a great show and thinks this fight is good for boxing. But it makes his skin crawl to see a legend be put back in the ring against a novice fighter." He criticized Jake to say,
Jake Paul, good for the boxing. Definitely. He's training, he's sparring, he's dedicating himself to the sport. But fight a fighter. Don't fight a 55-year-old man who's shot and used to be one of the greatest fighters of all time. It's a circus, but circus sells.
This fight is expected to be pretty huge in terms of views and money, with some estimating around $300 million. But Hearn thinks no true boxing fan would be excited about a fight like this. This controversy is pretty popular considering that the CEO of UFC, Dana White, agrees.
Tyson's 58 years old. You know what I mean? Jake fought a guy who was his age and who was also considered a boxer, and he lost. So if you can keep fighting fucking 50-something-year-olds.
Jake Paul started off as a problematic YouTuber, but dove into boxing soon after. White is referring to Jake's previous opponents, none of which were professional boxers. Even though Jake is stepping into the boxing world with wins and knockouts, his wins aren't seen as credible because of his choices in opponents. To this, Dana said,
"Fight guys that box for a living and guys that are your age. How about that?"
He says he wants to fight Canelo. I'm just saying what he. That's what he.
Hear you. Then why is he not fighting Canelo?
Canelo, I don't think Canelo wants to waste his time.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be a fucking 30-second payday for Canelo. So I don't know.
This may be the biggest fight of Jake's career, but Dana believes that it's because of Tyson. Because Jake lost against a fighter of his own caliber, so he needs this fight to gain some credibility back. Dana stands on his opinions to say that Tyson shouldn't fight again, but still sees the fighter as one of the greatest. Their original fight had to be rescheduled from July to November because of Tyson's health, so that makes this that much more controversial. Michael Jai White, an American actor and martial artist, has been around great fighters like John Jones and Bisping. His analytic skills came in handy as he expressed his thoughts about the upcoming bout to say,
It would be a little much for Jake Paul because, I mean, Jake is not that much bigger. I mean, Tyson was always used to much bigger guys. And when I just think about what's Jake Paul going to do if Tyson hits him in the body, I just don't think he's ready for that.
I think the only thing Jake is probably...
In his prime, Tyson was feared because of his raw power and deadly body shots. He took down the best and most seasoned fighters of his time. And Jake hasn't fought anyone close to that caliber so far in his career. White talked about the difference in their experience.
Somebody who's thrown that punch a million times, it's just different.
Yeah.
I remember sparring with Layman Brewster one time, and
Tyson's familiarity in the ring far outweighs Paul's. Body shots can be crippling to any fighter, so it will be interesting for pros and fans to see how Paul handles himself in the ring. Michael has sparred with many big names, but let's look at the last person who was in the ring with Mike Tyson in an exhibition match, Roy Jones Jr.
No, I don't feel for Mike and how old he is. Mike is a very rugged guy. You know, when I was in there with Mike, Mike still was hard to hit, and Mike still can hit hard as hell. So, no reason to really fear for Mike. The only thing I fear for Mike is, like, if the fight goes beyond 4 or 5 rounds, then it could get problematic for Mike because of his age.
Most analysts agree that the fight will be tough for Jake in the beginning, but it will get difficult for Tyson after a few rounds. Tyson is almost guaranteed a win if he blocks Jake's power before it gets too strenuous for him after 4 to 5 rounds. Jake has to survive through Tyson's explosive attempts in the first few rounds. To this, Jones Jr. said,
The real question, how much can Jake survive? That's the real question, because Mike has what it takes to get anybody out of there. And I'm going to tell you this, when I boxed him 4 years ago, it was only 2-minute rounds, but surprisingly, he never really declined. He stayed the same the whole fight, and that surprised me.
The fight between Roy Jones and Mike Tyson took place in 2020, and Jones believes that Tyson did have a good amount of stamina throughout the fight. So despite Tyson's age, he may just have the perfect amount of power and stamina to easily take down a novice fighter like Jake. Jones talked about Jake going out if Tyson clips him, but doesn't believe that the young fighter will last long enough in the rounds to get permanent damage.
I don't think Jake will take, what really does damage is the repetitiveness. When a guy keep getting hit over the rounds, 6 rounds, 7 rounds, 8 rounds, still getting hit with the same shots. Mike punches so hard that you're not going to take his shots 2 rounds in a row or 3 rounds in a row. That's not happening. Therefore, no permanent damage.
Jones Jr. continued to call Tyson a pit bull. He said this about his old fellow fighter. He just can't help it. He wants to kill. Nothing you can do about that. If you get in there and get him started, he gon' heat up. And once he heats up, it's a wrap. Moving on, former UFC fighter Chael Sonnen is questioning Tyson's commitment to this bout. He suspects that the legend may not be training with the intensity required for someone his age to fight a young and rabid fighter. Tyson's training been pretty convincing for many fans, and he looks as dangerous as ever. But Sonnen isn't convinced. He said, if Mike Tyson doesn't have a single trainer or workout partner speaking to the media about training with him, something's not right. He's got a studio with a heavy bag. I could be wrong, but nobody's confirmed he's even working out with a team. The only downside Tyson has is his age, and if he isn't working on endurance, he could lose to a YouTuber turned boxer. And this is another growing concern which Sonnen pointed out when he said, if Tyson goes out there and he gets mauled by Jake, you're going to have a whole bunch of fans that are very upset the next time you try to pull something like this. Many fans believe that these unbalances matches held to garner attention and get a hefty payday risk the integrity of boxing if they are poorly executed. Therefore, face-off ahead of the fight seemed pretty intense with Tyson throwing play punches, and Jake's video where he dropped his sparring partner sparked a lot of talk about his youth being a possible winning factor. Speaking of his sparring partners, even Jake's ex-sparring partner, Anthony Taylor R., thinks that anything could happen but that Tyson is still dangerous. The outcome gets confusing when Tyson's age is seen in the picture. Taylor said, let's say Jake Paul goes in there and destroys Mike Tyson. We can all sit here and say, well, I told you Mike Tyson is old. Jake is younger. Tyson goes in there and destroys Jake. Look, I told you Mike Tyson's nobody to play with. Look what he just did to Jake. No one's going to be satisfied, but the outcome is still going to be the same. It is a fight that will be talked about regardless and will be watched no matter the outcome. And both fighters have something to gain and lose depending on the outcome. Tyson is looking to maintain his reputation, since this is his first proper fight in over 2 decades. Losing it makes him look bad. Jake is looking to build his reputation by taking down a legend, even if he is way beyond his prime. Former lightweight boxing champion Anthony Crolla agrees when he gave his prediction for the Tyson and Paul fight. Jake has been fighting the last few years, as compared to Tyson, who only fought the exhibition match against Jones Jr. in 2020. So the expectations from Tyson are based off of his prime days. Crolla said, I think it's a bit dangerous. We don't know what kind of place Mike Tyson will be in. He looked great in the exhibition with Roy Jones Jr. The fight could go either way, but Jake is going in this fight blindly, without knowing the state of his opponent. So it could either be an easy win or a hard loss. Crolla said something similar. It's going to be either horrendous viewing or Mike Tyson would walk through him, and I'd think he'd make a lot of people in boxing happy. While boxing legends are worried for Tyson because of his health, they are more worried for Jake if Tyson unleashes his power. This worry came from one of the few fighters who knocked out Mike Iron Tyson in his prime, Lennox Lewis. You know Tyson is a threat when even fighters who defeated him vouch for his strength and power. Lewis sent a warning for Jake and expressed his excitement for this fight. He said, I was thinking Jake Paul was going to be in trouble because Mike Tyson knows how to throw big body shots, big head shots. We just have to see if he's going to do it in the ring. I hope he does. I'll be there, and it's going to be exciting. Lewis even took to Instagram to share a simulation of what he thinks will happen in the fight. It shows Jake walking in the ring and being taken down in the second after the first bell with a single right hook from Tyson. Tyron Woodley, a previous opponent of Jake Paul, shared his prediction, calling it a very even fight. He recalled Tyson's prime where his fights were attempted murder, but is now skeptical skeptical because of the age factor. In regards to Jake, he said,
Jake's always on a win-win situation. He's fighting guys that if he lose, you lost to this guy, you lost to Tyron, you lost to Anderson Silva, you lost to Nick Diaz or Nate Diaz or whatever. So he's always in a position where if he wins, he goes up. If he loses, it's like, okay, he took a risk, he took a chance. So
Woodley is going to attend the fight and support the sport, but he's looking forward to see who will come out on top. According to Woodley, Tyson has the muscle memory alone to take down ordinary fighters like Jake. Win or lose, Tyson deserves to have massive respect on his name. Bernard Hopkins, another boxing legend, gave his nod of approval for the upcoming fight. His initial statement before the fight was delayed was similar to Eddie Hearn's, where he said, he initially said he wouldn't even watch it and didn't see it as a genuine fight, calling it more of a sideshow. But with the fight approaching, he shifted gears to say, I think it's a great way of showing the world that entertainment, and is looking forward to the thrilling encounter. Hopkins thinks that each fighter needs to come in with the right strategy and intent to fight. I think either of them can beat each other if they have the right strategy and go in with the right intent to actually beat each other up and make it what people believe it is. But he still believes that they won't go all the way. The fans are expecting entertainment, and that's what they'll get over a genuine fight. The American professional boxer, Danny Garcia, holds the same opinion, that there is a difference between boxing and entertainment. He did not predict a winner, but predicted fun for the fans, a huge bag of money for the fighters. Mike Tyson's ex-trainer, Ronnie Shields, predicts that Tyson's experience will be the sole thing that takes him all the way to the victory. According to him, Tyson is always training and is in good shape and can fight well even at this stage. Shields predicted how the fight would go and said,
well, it can go two ways. Mike knows the sport. He's been in it all his whole life. So he knows how to pace himself to go 8 2-minute rounds. Jake Paul haven't been in that position yet, especially against a strong fighter like Mike Tyson. So the pressure is going to be more on Mike Tyson. On Jake Paul than Mike Tyson.
You think Mike Paul doesn't have a lot to lose, but Shields believes that Tyson will win via knockout without much hindrance. Who do you think will win this fight? Will experience reign, or will the young fighter get lucky? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe for more content.